I'm lost in darkness, searching for light. Every step forward feels like a fight. Shadows of doubt creep in my mind, but I refuse to surrender. I must find a way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. The weight of the world crushes me down. Fear and uncertainty all around. But I deep find inner strength to face the trials length by length. A way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes, like a phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my heart reborn. I've walked through fire and emerged scarred, but wiser, stronger, and unmarred. My existence is a test of will, of trials overcome, of a soul made bold. The way of the world, above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Ooh, made bold. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes like a phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my spirit unborn. Day to day, nothing changes. All I want is a moment to think clearly, but thoughts come unrelenting, consuming every waking moment. My mind binds me and I can't escape. I shout for help, but no one hears me. One day I feel I'll just disappear. Lost in this chaos, I'm searching for peace.
Hey, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to the Dirt Sheet Radio NXT Post-Show Rewind. It is April the 15th, 2025. I'm Tyler, the pro wrestling hipster, here with Little Molly Holly, the long-haired chihuahua, and joined by...
CJ Carter, looking very forward to talking about tonight's NXT.
Oh, yeah, this was a banger of an NXT. This is everything a go-home show should be and needs to be, ahead of the biggest event of the year for the developmental brand, this Saturday, Stand and Deliver, coming up. We've got a lot to cover and a lot to get through, but before we can do that, we do have to give that ever-important shout-out to the us on the web, dirtsheetradio.com, for all your pop culture, professional wrestling, entertainment needs, all encapsulated in one convenient location. Go there, check it out, make your homepage, look at it multiple times a day, just like we do. Not because we are legally obligated to do so, but because we genuinely love to do it. Yeah, this is This is a big show, CJ. It's WrestleMania week. I mean, it's Stand and Deliver week. I'm going to be honest, before we get into it really here heavy tonight, I said this in our little pre-production meeting, but I really feel like this was a proper go-home show. Last night's Raw felt like Raw for the most part, but this felt like we're trying to sell the biggest event of the year. And I know we're in a different time frame and we don't really sell these events proper as it used to be. But that's what it felt like. It felt like a hard sell. Like they wanted you to buy this show Saturday afternoon. And I thought it was great. And I'm here for it, man.
Oh, absolutely. This was the culmination of all these stories coming together, and some of them I've like have got me on the edge of my seat. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how everything plays out on Saturday.
Oh yeah, it's going to be it's going to be great. And just again, we talked about this the other day as well, but just to reiterate at the top of the show tonight, we will not be doing a post show for Stand and Deliver Saturday. We will be doing a live watch along for the second year in a row for Stand and Deliver. So it's officially a tradition, right? That's how that works. 2 years, it's a
Yeah,
tradition.
I'm pretty sure. Even if it's not, let's just call it
Exactly.
tradition.
Right.
It was a lot of fun doing a watch along last year. I'm really glad that we're doing it again this year. It just really helps with the flow of WrestleMania weekend.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Because there's a lot going on, guys. A lot going on and a lot to cover. But speaking of which, going into tonight's program, which came to us live from the Performance Center in Florida, we had a few things here on the docket. The Fatal 4-Way to determine the North American Championship's #1 contender, the potential parking lot brawl between the family and the Dark State, the final 2 slots to be filled in the Women's North American Championship ladder match, and then the tag team gauntlet. This is what we had announced. And we started off, CJ, you said this in the chat, like what, 90 seconds into the show and we had a ring bell.
I don't think I've ever seen it hit uh, the action that quickly in years. You know, it's
Yeah.
definitely something that when you talk about a lot of the critiques of national TV wrestling programs and comparisons between WWE and AEW, the amount of wrestling versus any other content over the course of however long your show is, like the actual percentage of wrestling, this kicks that off obviously to high percentage in favor of wrestling. That match, and then by the time the next match started, it was already only a half an hour into the show.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if this was an episode of Raw or SmackDown, you'd still be only part way through the opening promo.
Exactly. And it is very unfortunate. Typically, I do have match times. I don't have match times tonight. There was a lot going on, and I honestly, this is one of those instances. I need to have a literal separate stopwatch. Like I need to hop back 25 years and get one of those. Because when I'm doing multiple things, I get distracted by the finishes of the matches, and often will forget to go back and hit the stop on my phone timer. Like until it's like 5 minutes after that, I'm just like, it's too late now, guys. This is what happens. But it was a really wrestle heavy show tonight, which again, they still had promos and they interspersed them well, but it felt tighter and with a better sense of flow than Raw did last night. Not to drag on the top brand there. Just saying.
No, but flow is exactly the word I was thinking of right before you said it. Like uh, it just made the show did not feel like a long 2 hours. It was like I looked at my watch and 5 seconds later, 30 minutes had passed.
Yeah, yeah. It zoomed by tonight. It zoomed by. But now, as right before that bell started, the time that was taken up very briefly was Ricky Saints coming to ringside to do some colorful commentary during the Fatal 4-Way to determine his opponent this Saturday afternoon. And he wasn't out there for super duper long before he was, let's say, drug into the action there. And then he was, much to the glee of Ethan Page, ejected from ringside. Uh, Ethan Page's facial expressions just absolutely just brilliant.
Oh, 100%. And I don't know if I don't know. Sorry, trying to reorient my brain here. This spot in particular, this 3-on-1 submission, all at the same time on Lexus King, fantastic spot. All three of the guys who didn't win this match still come away looking as shiny and clean as Ethan Page.
Hmm.
This is a great spotlight to be putting on the North American title, and it made me more excited to see this match.
Yeah, it's going to be a great match. I said this actually on Facebook as well. I think Saturday Ricky Saints and Ethan Page are going to have a fantastic title match. We'll get into our predictions. Probably actually maybe more later in the week, maybe even Saturday. We'll probably go live a little bit before the show starts. But I think it's going to be a great match to say the least. And this match was just wall to wall action, just nonstop for the entirety of it. There was a brief moment where I thought they were going to have Lexus King tap, and just poor Ricky was going to be in a another, in a fatal 4-way situation Saturday. They
Well,
did not
and
go that route.
I'm glad that they didn't. Like, the dynamic that these guys have is incredible, and I think it would have hurt the match for them to lose anybody.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. But after the match, Ricky did get a little bit of comeuppance for getting ejected from the match, and he did take down all ego there. But yeah, going to be a fantastic match Saturday. You're going to hear us say that a lot ahead of this weekend's show, and we're going to be saying that a lot Saturday during the show, and for probably the weeks following. It's gonna be great, guys. It's gonna be great. But CJ, man, anything else on tonight's opening match or the little post-match segment there?
No, I think it really set the tone for the show.
Mhm. Oh God, yeah. You're right. Like, because it was just bam, 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 just, but not overwhelming. That's something I do want to reiterate. Like, NXT very well walks that line of throwing a lot at you, but pacing it just well enough that you're able to absorb it.
Hmm.
Because that is something that, like, can happen. That was a critique of God going way back. If y'all remember when TNA was a 1 hour broadcast, that was one of the chief complaints about that, was they crammed 2 hours into 1 hour and you couldn't really digest anything. But solid stuff here. Now, as I said earlier, there were vignettes and segments and promo segments sprinkled throughout the show, similar to how they did last night with Raw with the women in the women's world title picture. They did this tonight with the women in the NXT picture here. We had Jordynne Grace up first. CJ, what did you think of Jordynne Grace's promo here? Kind of, ran down her path to becoming a wrestler and making it to WWE.
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic video package. And I might end up saying this with most of the packages that they showed, but it really did phenomenally to highlight the characters and the backstories and their strengths and what they bring into this match. And of course, we know Jordan. We've seen her on Impact for years now. And even on the NXT brand, we've seen her in some very high profile matches, even the
Mm-hmm.
Royal Rumble. And I I think Jordan's in particular, again, in contrast with the really good show, like, it had a really good flow to it. Like,
Yeah.
she took you through her early days in wrestling and struggling to find her identity, and that is something that is going to resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, she's this promo, she's one of those characters that if you just looked at her, she's a superhero. Like she's built like a comic book character, especially with her bodybuilding background and everything. But
Oh yeah.
when they do something like this, like she is such a relatable, just kind-hearted, good person that now if ever they turn her heel, which I'm sure they will eventually, I'm going to have a hard time believing it because I'm just going to remember like how sweet Jordynne Grace seems in these segments like this.
Well, and
But she's scary. She's still scary, but like she just comes across so relatable, and I think that's hard to do often for someone that looks as badass and tough as she is.
well, I mean, I see you're Jordan Grace, and I raise you the New Day turning heel and making them two of the most despicable guys on the Raw roster right now.
True, true.
So I think there is a way as long as you have enough focus on the story they're telling now as opposed to every single moment of the history behind it.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Mac, we're going to get to that a little bit later. I
It was
promise.
already
This
brought
will
up.
come up. This will come up. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But moving forward through the show, we're in the backstage area here, where we had the ladies in the ladder match that had already qualified for the ladder match. Bickering. Yeah, it's poor Miss NXT Ariana Grace. Look at her back there. You know what's funny? She moved chairs to be in the camera shot.
I saw that and I was like, "Oh, that's such a Ariana Grace move." Like
Yeah,
even just to be like, "I'm gonna get further away from what feels like a very volatile situation." That was not the first thing that went into my head. I was like, "Oh yeah, she just wants to be on camera."
yep. As that was my thought completely. Was she has kept herself on camera? Somebody's been talking to Santino about making the most of your minutes out there. Uh, but this of course led us into our next one of two qualifying matches we had for the final spots for that ladder match tonight. We had Tatum Paxley with her good friend Gigi Dolan taking on Lola Vice 1-on-1 for that final spot. I was excited when Tatum came out because I thought for a minute maybe Tatum was going to get to be in the match. No.
Well, and I felt going in like Lola Vice had put in a lot of great work last year, so
It's true. It's
it
true.
it feels like she was um the I don't want to say the bigger star, but she was the one who, showed off two underground matches last year
That's
and
true.
won. I
Well, and
think this.
Tatum has been spending a lot more of her time, kind of working tag programs with Gigi, and spending a good bit of time over an Impact as well. So it makes
uh,
sense. It makes
s-
sense.
Speaking of tag, you remember when we thought the women's tag division was going to be moving to NXT?
Hey, I think there's still a chance.
Oh, come on, man.
No. Last night, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later because they're setting up some things for the next contenders for the women's tag titles tonight, and we'll get there when we get there. But last night on the Raw Rewind, Caesar and I talked a little bit about the future of those titles after WrestleMania and the potential of them maybe going to someone on NXT, but I don't know. It's possible. I'm allowed to dream, CJ. It's WrestleMania season, and I believe in the magic.
I mean, I can just picture the optics though. Like this was a title that was defended on WrestleMania and then within the year gets relegated to the NXT brand. Meanwhile, we have two women's singles titles that are still on the main roster with zero chance of being bumped down to NXT that were not put on WrestleMania this year. The champion but she's fighting for the tag titles. The
Yeah,
very same tag titles you want to move to NXT.
I don't want to move them to NXT. I just want them on an NXT team, and then they can go hang out on the main roster for a minute, and then they can lose. They're floating titles, and they have not been on an NXT team since they became floating titles. And I'm a little spicy about it. I am brown mustard over here.
You know what? Every right to be.
And that's why I say it's just a little spicy. Not a lot, just a little bit. Just a little bit. But you're right. You're right. Lola was the obvious or more sensible winner here. So Lola Vice makes her way into that ladder match.
I think Lola from the past year has probably fit the definition of workhorse the
Mm-hmm.
best in the women's division. Not to say that a lot of women haven't put in a lot of great work, and as a matter of fact, uh, with the exception of Thea Hale, unfortunately. And that's mainly just because she hadn't been here for a sizable chunk of time.
Mm-hmm.
Every single woman in this match has really been putting in the work on TV. So
Yeah.
it's consistent. So at the very least, we're going to be getting a North American champion who can already show they can keep up with the workhorse rate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh man, it's gonna be it's gonna be spectacular. Again, see, I told y'all we're gonna keep saying how great the matches upcoming are going to be. Yes.
Oh yeah. That's just how they built the night.
Yeah, they were up and down. I don't know. It's kind of like they just kind of got to go up there and kiss the main roster for a minute, and then they.
Well, I mean, Roxanne was on Raw last night too or on SmackDown. Wait, was it SmackDown? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was Nick Aldis's office. She was outside. Yeah, we see this happen a lot, and it even happens the other way. I don't really think much of it anymore.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. But all right. So plotting through, we had our next pre-taped vignette segment highlighting the women in the NXT Women's Championship match Saturday. This one highlighted Julia, and again, CJ, like you said, we're going to be saying this a lot. Good vignette here. Solid work. These production values are just great on these, and gives again a lot of extra depth and character and soul to these wrestlers.
Well, this one in particular, as opposed to Jordynne Grace, like it didn't touch on Julia's career before before WWE. And I think that was because that is seems to be more of a face tactic to
Mm-hmm.
try to get them over. Like we'll see the same thing when they show Stephanie Vacquer's
Exactly.
video.
Yeah.
And so and I don't know if that trope really bugs me or not. Like it feels like it does, but it's like, should it? There are more important things to complain about.
Oh goodness. But all right. So moving back to the backstage area, we got a Roxanne Perez appearance, and gods be praised. Tuesday Night Roxy once again. Probably not for too much longer. But it was in this segment that they did establish that at Stand and Deliver there would be a triple threat tag team match to determine the number one contenders for those women's tag team championships. And this segment also kind of hinged on the fact that as it stood at this moment, and we'll get there, excitement abounds, y'all. But Roxy didn't have any friends. So she was a little miffed and a little pissy that she had to go track down a tag partner, and we'll see by show's end if Roxy has someone.
Dun dun dun.
But speaking of tag team and contendership, guys, this is a big one. This was awesome, guys. Hank and Tank started the gauntlet tonight, and they were in there with Tyson and Tyreek, and God, wouldn't you know it? Hank and Tank, they pull it up. They take out Tyson and Tyreek, and my first thought immediately was CJ called it. I was on board. I was already living the hope and the dream. Out next, we had Brooks and Nico of the Information Bush, the calling, whatever. And again,
Information
Hank,
Bush would probably sell more T-shirts. Let's be honest.
it absolutely would. Educational Shrub would sell more T-shirts. Like there's any iteration of this would I think sound a little. And culling is just. I don't think it's a bad name. I actually think it's pretty rad as names go. But I don't know, maybe it's just me. I grew up in the Appalachian region of the United States, and my accent pops out on certain words, and that's one of those for some reason. So when I say calling, it doesn't sound quite right. I don't know. It doesn't hit my mouth to my own ear properly. But during this match was shown, of course, Fraxium watching with vetted interest here, obviously, as whoever would win this gauntlet would be facing them this Saturday. Um, but yeah, Hank and Tank taking out the information bush and going right along. And this was when I think the air got taken a little bit out when the no quarter catch crew came running down and immediately started stomping on Hank and Tank here. I think the audience, riding along with us, feeling the emotions. I think this is where they were first worried for Hank and Tank here tonight.
I thought this was the I knew Hank and Tank were gonna win at least one of these gauntlet matches, and then of course no quarter catch crew came in, and I'm like, oh, okay, they might be going with the they're gonna get squashed right away route, um, and then they and then the match keeps going on, and they manage to pull the win over the no quarter catch crew. And I'm like, oh, they might actually, go on and win the whole damn thing.
There was a second where I thought that was it. I'd kind of forgotten about Josh Briggs and Inamura.
Me too. But then, of course, we see something similar. Brooks and Inamura hit the ring, and it is very dominant, very
Oh,
quickly.
that immediate big boot and shove into the steps. My heart kind of sank a little bit. I'm like, fuck, they're just gonna let them go super hard heel here and just destroy my hopes and dreams.
But then, of course, we see at the very end of the match, the Hank and Tank managed to pull it out and got the victory. They are headed to Stand and Deliver to challenge for the NXT Tag Team Championships.
This
Now,
was this was
this
awesome.
this was an absolutely incredible match. Like so many spots were just executed flawlessly. Tank's reversal in the culling match finish was brilliant.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those I had to reset my brain after they landed, and I was just like, wait, how did that happen? Like I didn't even see the switch. Um, but then of course they showed the replay and it was fantastic. Would Hank and Tank beating Fraxium be a little underwhelming? I disagree. And I think that was why they had been booking Hank and Tank the way they did, because
Mhm.
this was the reaction that they got winning the gauntlet. Can you imagine the reaction they're going to get in Vegas
Oh
when
yeah.
they win the tag titles? Like Fraxium has done a hell of a job with this team, or
Yeah.
with the tag titles, but this team really has your classic Rocky moment. Like we saw
Yeah.
Hank Ledger starting as a security guard. Tank Ledger was one of the first NIL names.
Yeah.
What possible um, storybook ending would have them not win the tag titles?
Yeah. I feel like I've loved this Fraxium run, and I had when going, back a little ways, I was upset, when I felt a much abbreviated run with Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker as the tag champions. Now I was a little pissy from then. I'm like, okay, because I really thought that was going to help just really heavy track these tag titles and help bring them up a little bit more. But Fraxium did it, with their repeated victories, just really by the skin of their teeth pulling out these wins. The will they, won't they on the split. And the split's a common, and that's probably what's going to be the crux of them losing to Hank and Tank, which is a little bit of an out, but it's been great. It's been great. And if Saturday is where their tag title run ends, and it is to Hank and Tank. I'm thrilled with that. I love Hank and Tank, and I hope that this means more Hank and Tank merch are coming.
hmm I do feel bad too because they did get a bit of wind ripped from their sails because hey, what's up? Because like the same thing happened with Bailey and Lyra last week on Raw.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how do you still do that? Like I know that they had been building this up for Hank and Tank for a while now, and I'm sure main roster writers don't communicate with NXT writers, but that's gotta suck
Mm-hmm.
to know that this is coming up for Hank and Tank, two guys who have been ready for this for quite a while now and have deserved this break for some time. They kind of get their legs got out from under them and some of their momentum kind of stalled out a little. Well, not stalled out, but evaporated.
Yeah. They built back though. They built back. I mean, they told. I think they told a pretty good journey with Hank and Tank here, overall.
Oh, definitely. And I did get a kick out of Corey Graves on commentary, calling Tank a heavyweight pinball.
uh, yeah, I think was it on this? Oh no, that was later in the night when Corey said he was going to have to eat crow based off of what he thought was going to happen in the match. But yeah, no, this was well deserved. And again, you're going to hear it pretty much every match tonight. But looking forward to Saturday. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. Um, but
Before,
anything
just
else?
real quick too, yeah, before we move on, speaking of commentary, you hear Booker T throwing shade at the Dudleys over his tag victories.
Oh my god, that clip on LFG. How long I gotta listen to this shit? Um, yeah, that fit. Love it. I love it. And that's a fun little tie to something going on LFG that's not so heavy handed that like you're gonna be confused by hearing it. You know what I mean? But like if you know, you know. I
Exactly.
like that. I like that kind of interplay.
Oh, and at the same time, I had to roll my eyes a bit because it's like, God, you just let it go. Like, who cares? This was
They
decades
could have
ago.
invited Harlem Heat here, but they didn't. Oh God. Oh, Bubba Ray. Oh gosh, fantastic, fantastic. But
One other, but like genuinely, one thing that I meant to mention, like just the fact that this was a master class in long-term storytelling, like, or not even just like the execution of the finish for each match had them relying on each other as a team.
mm-hmm.
And granted, they have a promo later where they kind of spell it out for us. And that kind of bummed me out a little because it's like I wanted to be able to see, not be spoon fed it.
Right.
But I love the fact that this is the stuff that they're doing now. Like, you figured your team out now. That's wonderful. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's part of what's going to lead to them winning on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. And Mac, that's a fair perspective and a fair place to be, sir. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being a Fraxian.
Nope, not at all.
But all right, so from there, and I don't actually have a picture of this. We had a quick backstage segment with Ava and Stevie and Mr. Stone, and was Callie from Evolve.
I honestly didn't write her name down.
Okay, okay. I think it was Callie. I think so. Because the reason the name stuck
Armstrong,
out, what's from the last name? Because the reason
I
it stuck
think.
out to me was I saw a little ad for Evolve the other day where she's, I think, in a match coming up that has like Kendall Gray in it, and Kendall Gray's name popped out because we saw her quite a bit on Level Up when that was a show. um, but
And of course, Brindley Reese from NXT proper.
yep, 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 yep. So I need to catch up on Evolve over there. But after that, we had Obafemi arriving out there, and is he a rove? Yeah, that's right. I said a rove. We saw DarkState lurking in the background there, and that brought us to the Jaida Parker
Just
vignette
b-
from.
just before we move on from that, I think the production value in 2025 has just gone up significantly.
Mhm.
Like the fact that they didn't see Dark State in the background of that shot until the camera started cutting to commercial, like it was a very fleeting thing.
And
And
Vic was shouting it as they went to commercial, like as it
yeah,
cut to black on the air. It's like, is that DarkState? Like, oh
like
shoot.
it's the little things that just make this fantastic.
Well, and that added a little bit of just a little extra air of realism for that suspension of disbelief. Just for him to react in such a genuine, earnest way to like spotting them, almost kind of like how the viewers do. It's like on NXT shots or Raw shots when you see wrestlers in the background doing something that could be important or weigh into something later in the night during a promo in the foreground. So I like that. It makes him kind of an every fan as a commentator, and I dug that as well.
Well, and it was interesting too because they didn't attack Obafemi. We cut back from commercial break and we get a segment where Stax and Luca are going to war, them and a couple other like no-name background schmucks to take it to the dark state. They end up fighting for a significant portion of a segment like that, and it got really violent at times too.
It did.
Um, but then Tony ends up coming out, and he's got some police that are in his pocket that throw on their lights and manage to break things up. But oh my god, like this was insane.
Yeah, that and okay. So I real quick, I want to the wall spot. I was proud as hell of them from a theatrical, technical theater standpoint. That's a real looking wall. I mean, it's still a breakaway wall. You can see kind of a seam there, but the fact that they went to the trouble of putting the insulation in there, thank you, design
Well,
team. I applaud you. I love.
not
I love.
even not even just the insulation. There were like a metal bracing, like you can't see it in this angle, but the camera eventually goes down and to the right, and you can see part of the wall frame
Mhm.
behind the drywall.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job with this brawl. Yeah, we'll get there too, Mac. But this brawl was great. It was violent. There were a couple spots when I think, oh, gosh, I think it was Dion Lennox tried to topple that row of lockers over. First of all, the sound it made when it hit the concrete was just jarring. But that was one of those like it ceases to be a wrestling match and like starts to walk a line of attempted murder.
And I mean, like, how did these, like, I get that it's wrestling and it's a physical, demanding job. We see, like, it's presented to be as, like, reality, but how did these guys at least not walk away with assault charges?
Right, especially once the fuzz showed up. And okay, was it just me? Because I made note here when Tony D showed up, which was awesome, by the way. It was such like a fun like I don't want to oversell it here, but like kind of Aragorn Lord of the Rings for Frodo moment. All right, this was big. It had a lot of steam there. But like when he started wailing on everyone with the crowbar, did they add a sound effect to that crowbar hit?
They definitely might have. Like,
Because there was like
it
a
didn't
metal like
sound
like
like a genuine crowbar. Like, it
there was
didn't
something
sound metallic.
there was something movie-ish about it, but like also it made me think of that scene in Home Alone where Joe Pesci gets pissed off after he gets hit with the crowbar from Larry and just starts Hitting her with it. How do you like it? You twerked it. But like he was just that again. He was going for headshots with a crowbar.
Hmm.
Attempted murder. But he is a
Now,
monster. He's killed people on TV on NXT. They have thrown them into the friggin' lake. Like he's murdered people. It's happening.
hmm
We're established here with that.
so are you telling me Two Dimes showing up in AEW is just a ghost?
I think he was lucky to survive and is now working under an assumed name.
You know what? That is probably more valid.
Yeah, this
Working
is
under
like
an assumed name with his internationally televised wrestling promotion.
shoot. It's kayfabe. 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 Molly, wake up. It's kayfabe. Wake
When
up from the
all else
kayfabe.
fails.
Yep. When all else fails, I wake up the dog and bring her back on the screen. But yeah, this was cool. This was solid. But Tony, after he showed up and explained how he had the police there and everything, he was not particularly happy with Stacks. And he said that this isn't how they handle things. They're going to handle it in front of the world. And this Saturday, it's going to be the family and DarkState going at it proper in the ring. And then they had a very uncomfortable hug where neither of them looked to trust the other.
Well, and to be, because we didn't mention it at the start of this, this went off without Tony's knowledge. This was all Stack's idea and planning.
Yep.
So he kind of went rogue here.
He did. And really, I felt it was implied that he had Tony's blessing up until Tony wasn't there. Like you said, it was Crucifino and Stacks and a couple unnamed
Thugs.
mob heavy thugs. Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to think. Like I was digging deep into my Sopranos knowledge to think of a word to call these guys that wasn't also
Like
potentially
jabroni.
offensive. Yeah, also potentially offensive to the Italian American community.
And the last thing you need is Tony Mamaluke knocking on your door.
No, and they establish it's canon. They're related. They are
Yeah,
all one
they're
family.
all exactly.
As it would be, but yeah. So I dug this. It was violent. It was brash. It was quick. Wasn't really a match. Wasn't really a winner or a loser here. But it was good. And just real quick before we move on to the next segment, how do you feel Dark State's going? How do you feel that they're handling Dark State so far?
I mean, they've only had the one match,
Well, I
and
know, but
the
the way they
rest of the
presented them,
time, well, yeah, so the rest of the time has just basically been like Shield meets Retribution meets a million other different acts
yeah,
like it.
right,
The only really original thing was the Instagram promo, and even then, like the structure was, oh yeah,
right,
ha ha ha, we're gonna take you guys on in a six-man tag. Like it still wasn't original.
right. Um, well, because the reason I ask is I saw some chattering on the online about regarding the Wyatt Six, and how they had such like a big pump, and then it all just kind of fell out, and it happened when they hit the ring, and I felt like that didn't really happen for Dark State. Like I felt like their first proper match as a team, I felt like they retained a lot of that air of chaotic violence, and we'll be able to see if they can still do that. And again, another proper tag match come Saturday. But I mean, that chaotic violence was definitely present during this brawl. But I'd like to see them be able to retain that chaotic violence, because I think that's something that hurt the air of the Wyatt Six once they got in the ring and started working matches. It kind of they lost a bit of that aura. But yeah, I just want to kind of bring that up because I feel like that hasn't happened to Dark State, and I hope it doesn't, because so far I think they're doing better than Retribution.
Well, I mean, anything is better than Retribution, but we'll see how we'll see how it shakes out. They'll uh, they'll run it into the ground if they have to.
Yeah, and and I'll say this, like when it comes to angles not working, Shawn Michaels is not afraid to abandon something.
That's true.
Yeah. And Mac, yes, I agree. Stacks, everybody in the family's good. I like everybody there, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Absolutely is. And I wonder if this might be an attempt for branching Stacks away from the family and him striking out on his own.
yeah. I mean, they are definitely hitting that chord of there being a little bit of, not just a little bit, but a good bit of friction and power struggle even between him and Tony. So
Mm-hmm.
underboss only wants to be an underboss for so long, you know.
And Luca Crucifino is now representing Chelsea
Yeah,
Green.
I was gonna say if the family splits, Luca's gonna be okay. He's got this whole other law career to fall back on. You know, you didn't see David Otunga representing wrestlers when he was on the roster. So
N-
just saying.
no, he was too busy trying to get himself over. Never mind his potential opponents.
Yeah, he was too busy struggling to not, be a void of charisma. So
Hey, you're talking to one half of a former tag team championship run with John Cena. Thank you very much.
oh god. Yeah. I thought you were gonna say Michael McGillicuddy.
Were they champs together?
I thought they were.
Okay, stand by. I'm looking up David Otunga's championship
I know,
history.
I know it can't be a long history. Because I know they were at least a tag team for a while because they were feuding with Jerry Lawler briefly because Jerry was talking about how little charisma they had, and they wrestled Jerry Lawler and Zack Ryder right here in Columbus, Ohio, at a Raw that I went to. So, and the pop that Zack Ryder got, you would have thought he was Steve Austin.
Uh, just an update here. You are correct. David Otunga is a two-time WWE Tag Team Champion.
Once with John Cena and once with Michael McGillicuddy.
Hmm.
Okay, there we go. Wow, look at that. What's funny is you'd forgotten the Michael McGillicuddy one, and I'd forgotten the Cena one. The more egregious is that I forgot the Cena one because, like, Michael McGillicuddy as a character, forgettable.
I mean, but at the same time, Cena has only ever held the tag titles when he held them with the person he was feuding with.
That's
Shawn
a weird
Michaels,
fact.
Shawn Michaels, Batista, David Otunga. Was there more?
How many times has John Cena won the damn tag titles?
Well, I mean, at least three.
That's too many for a career singles wrestler. That's
Oh,
a bit
hang on.
much.
Sorry, there was a fourth one with The Miz.
So wow, that is an interesting John Cena fact that every time he's been a tag champion, it's been with someone he is in a feud program with.
It's honestly one of my favorite facts of all time.
That's that's fantastic. What a fact in this the year of John Cena's retirement.
You can't see a tag team partner of John Cena's that actually trusts him.
God no, can't ever win one with a buddy. That's unfortunate for John. But
Wah, wah.
back to NXT. We had another. I believe it was the final of the women's promo vignettes ahead of the title match this Saturday. This was the Stephanie Vacker one, and again, CJ, like you said, they really pushed the narrative of her journey to WWE and to this championship here.
Hmm. And obviously, these promos were built in a way to uh, get the audience reaction that they wanted. But like I said earlier, it's just weird that they only delve into their backstory when they're a face instead of a heel. And it could be argued that we already did that with Julia, but then I would turn that
Right.
around and say she was still a face at the time.
That's true. That's true. Well, but like if you're talking like background like anecdotes for a bad person, that could that could get dicey. Where it's like, oh yeah, like I used to beat up kids and take their lunch money. Like I would grab people's jowls and call them fat. Like it's just like it's hard to walk back some shit like that.
Well, and that being said, I know they did just do it with El Grande Americano,
Right. That's true.
but
That's true.
still works.
It does. It does. But yeah, all right. So up next, back in the. Do I not have a picture for this? Okay, hold on. Sorry, I was reaching for the wireless mouse to click around there, and oh no, it is not a laser pointer. And Ziggy here, she thought it'd be a good time to headbutt my hand. So we're lucky that I didn't close the entire program just now. And that's not a laser under the mouse. Stop it. Um, but
So,
backstage, oh,
well, I was just gonna say, so if anything happens with the stream, it's not my internet connection,
no,
it's
it
your
is a
cat.
cat. Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
yeah, it's not a cat 5. It's a 7-year-old cat. That's little tech humor, guys. But backstage, and I do not have a picture of this, but we had Kelly Kincaid interviewing Hank and Tank after their gauntlet match victory here, and they were all fired up. Talking about finding themselves, and the best piece of advice they got was that to be themselves. And they were approached very quickly by Fraxium there. Oh, God, Bull Buchanan. Bull Buchanan, the father of Brooks Jensen.
Yes. And that might actually be one of my favorite Cena facts is that he used to tag team with Brooks Jensen's dad.
Oh, goodness gracious. Uh,
What a world.
it is crazy. Wrestling is such a wild, wild place. But yeah, Fraxium, talking to Hank and Tank here, they were I don't want to say Fraxium as a whole was super arrogant. Nathan Fraser was
Yeah.
arrogant here, even going so far as refusing to shake the hands of Hank and Tank, which Axiom shook hands. He's got code of honor ethics here, but Nathan Fraser not shaking hands, walking away.
I do, or rather, yeah, I do think it's been an interesting heel turn for Nathan Fraser so far. Like, especially if they end up turning it on its head and having Axiom be the one who turns on him.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, Sarah's me. It's just I'm just so amped for the shows this weekend. There's just so many question marks for NXT, and I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not very excited about WrestleMania as a whole, but I'm really really amped for Stand and Deliver Saturday
Me
because
too.
there's it's just like this is one of those shows where even on the matches where it's like I think I know what's going to happen, I still feel like they could just completely spin me out and just knock me for a loop. That's what they do.
The the one thing that I will say though, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, whose bright idea was it to have WrestleMania weekend over Easter? Like if that was a Triple H decision, fuck you, man. Like
I I don't believe that WrestleMania was initially planned for this weekend. I think it was supposed to be a little bit earlier because for those of you that follow all of us on all of the socials, you know that Dirt Sheet Radio founder Johnny Dirt Sheet himself is abroad this WrestleMania week, and that was not planned. He did not plan it to be that way to miss WrestleMania week, but they moved Mania.
yeah, like it
So
it usually is either
much a couple
early
weeks. Yeah,
April or late March.
yeah. So
So the fact that it's in the second half of April is
you
shock
know,
enough in and of itself, but this was still something that like when they announced WrestleMania 41 was going to be in Vegas, they had the dates.
yeah. I mean, it's ballsy, really, to put it on Easter, because I got kids. Not to sound like Heath Slater, but like
I used
we've
to
got
have that shirt.
oh, that's a good shirt too. But we've got, we're doing an Easter egg hunt, like
Like,
we got.
how dare my family get in the way of wrestling?
Right. Well, and actually, here's the thing. I'm saying this quietly. Like, it's 11:20. Like, all the kids are asleep. They're not going to hear this, and they're not watching the show. I hope not, because man, they're going to hear some language sometimes. But um, we got Easter eggs that have glow sticks in them, so we have to do a nighttime Easter egg hunt. The yard is going to be aglow with Easter eggs. It's going to
Ooh.
be magical. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's gonna be pretty rad. I said
Can I
rad the
come?
other day. If you want to make the drive down this
Oh
weekend,
no, sorry, WrestleMania weekend. I probably can't.
see, it's gonna be rough. See, we're all busy. It's WrestleMania weekend, but it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool.
Absolutely.
See, much earlier, fifth and sixth last year. Ridiculous. Too late. This is the TKO era. They don't give a gush golly god darn about holidays. But back to the backstage area of the NXT. We had Roxanne Perez saying that she would be her own tag team partner, to which Stevie Turner said that that's not okay. She can't do that. It's illegal. And Ava said, "You're right. She can't do that."
Unless you're Kurt Angle or Samoa Joe, but that's a whole other story.
True, true. That's another story for another day. But then she was approached by a friend lost, perhaps regained in Cora Jade. So Roxy will be on the Stand and Deliver card tagging with Cora Jade. So I'm excited, man. Um, we never got the story arc that we were supposed to get with her and Cora.
I don't think we've seen the last of this yet. Like, I do think that this could be the match that leads to that singles blow off.
Well, what if we try this out a little bit? We push back. We push back. The singles blow off. And you know how I said that like there was potentiality to get those tag team titles onto an NXT team, perhaps an
Oh, I
NXT
see
team
where
that
you're going.
that is more or less ready for the main roster. And Roxy's already been there and is established with that main audience quite a bit, especially with that amazing record-setting Royal Rumble run she had. So them beating Liv and Raquel, maybe in a little bit of a screwy ball way. I'm just a hair, maybe not clean finish. I'm fine with that too. But that wouldn't be bad for Liv and Raquel. It's understandable and believable that would happen. And that's how you do it. So, oh, see,
So,
I just booked myself into believing this. Is what I just did.
but the question then would be if they're gonna put the tag titles on Roxy and Cora, and you just said their main roster ready, why wouldn't that be their call up, and then we still see NXT without the tag titles?
Shit.
Did I just ruin that for you?
No. Because okay, so them defending against teams at NXT would also make a little bit more sense because they have a much closer association to it. So, like, at least for a while, they'd still be present there. I don't know. I'm trying to make it work. It's hard to balance all this. You know what would really fix the problem? If NXT had their own women's tag team titles.
Wow, what a novel idea. They should give that a try.
Right? Let's give that a shot. Good
What's the
gravy.
worst that could happen?
Right? They take him away again. But yeah, so hella looking forward to that. But back in the Performance Center arena, there we had Carmen Petrovic making her way with her beau, Ashante the Adonis. Yes, they are still together. They are still doing this bit, ladies and gentlemen. And she was to compete against an as of yet unnamed competitor for that final spot in the North American Championship ladder match. And we were going to find out in short order who it was. You see, backstage we had Kale Dixon and Uriah Conners talking to Andre Chase, and they were making their final plea here. He was pretty much agreed to take them under his wing and provide them with some grade A tutelage. But he was still a little uncertain until a familiar voice rang out, giving her a blessing. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a wonderful night for me personally as a NXT fan. Thea Hale makes her return, gives her blessing to Andre Chase to teach once again. All is right in heaven as it is on the earth, and Thea Hale was to be Carmen Petrovic's opponent in this last qualifying match. CJ, before we get into the match, were you as amped to see Thea back tonight as I was? I think you were because you were all about it in the chat.
I was amped. I was surprised. I hadn't had the faintest thought of Thea Hale heading into Stand and Deliver, but I am glad to see that she's back. As soon as she came out, though, I was definitely like, "Oh yeah, Carmen's not going to Stand and Deliver."
God, no, no, absolutely not at that point. And I believe they said this on commentary, but the last time Thea Hale was on NXT television was the Great American Bash.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute, y'all. It has been a minute, but yeah, as CJ said, Thea Hale, the winner here tonight. The crowd behind her, 110%. This is where Corey said he had to eat crow because he didn't think she could do it. But God, that it was just so great to see her intensity and to have those facial expressions back on my television screen. Wonderful, wonderful. Her first appearance on the CW, right?
If it was since a Great American Bash, yeah, it would be.
Yeah. So, but Thea Hale getting that last spot in the Women's North American Championship ladder match, or championship, the North American Championship ladder match at Stand and Deliver. I was excited as hell to see this. Loved it. Um, I don't have the updated graphic here, but it's anybody's game in that match. You can make an argument for pretty much anybody in there. The person I would probably rank lowest would be Izzy Dame there, but last time I ranked somebody lowest in this scenario, it was Kalani Jordan, and she won it. So
Well, and two, since you brought up Kalani, like her new persona, her heel character, it's catching on a lot earlier and better, I think, than Roxanne's heel
uh-huh.
persona did in its early days. And so, do you think that if they put the North American title back on her as a heel, that that might uh, help her gain more traction?
Yeah, I do, especially with her leaning into this heel persona because she can get real cocky about it. She'll have done it 2 times in a row.
The most winning North American, or the you know
Most,
first
most
two
title reigns.
time champion.
Yep. Yeah, I think I think that actually that could work. I don't know that it would be necessarily my first choice with this, but that's primarily it's that's rough. That's rough. Like, 'cause that would work really well. There's a really good argument for Lola Vice. I think a lot of us thought that Sol Ruka was going to get it the first time we were in this situation, and she didn't. Zarya again, coming in with so much steam and momentum as she did into NXT, you can make an argument for her. And just like because of my heart and in my heart in wrestling, Thea Hale, I can make a big argument for Thea Hale winning this, but again, I could see pretty much anybody winning except for Izzy Dame.
Well, and I think to that point, like I don't take the culling seriously as a unit, so I don't see why I should take them seriously in a championship match or think
Yeah,
that they stand any chance of winning a championship match right now.
yeah. If now here's the thing. If um, Shawn Spears were still the North American champion and hadn't lost to Ricky Saints, then I would say there was a much better chance of Izzy Dame winning the North American Championship, because then I could say like, okay, they're starting to amass championships to try to elevate the information bush, to grow the information bush, if you will. But I don't see that being the case. Okay, so Mac, I just want to jump back real quick. I'd heard this. Is this true? This really is Eddie Edwards' theme song from TNA. Like I saw that said, and I didn't know. Other than the fact that at the beginning it says "I'm a grown ass woman," I sincerely doubt that it said that on Eddie Edwards' theme.
You might be surprised to hear this, but that was also part of the theme song back in the day.
Oh God, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Yes, Max says yes.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, so you know, it's better than a Def Rebel song,
That's a low bar. Like that
but
is
still,
you had to carve out the floor to put the bar down there.
Hornswoggle couldn't hula under that. Is that the limbo? Limbo's the term I'm looking for. Limbo. Yeah,
Yeah,
limbo.
there you go.
Yeah. Good grief. It's getting late here, guys. But okay, so yeah, it's
We're almost
interesting.
done. This is the last bit that
Hey,
we got to
we're
talk
in
about.
we're in the last segment. Um, Now, real quick before we do hit the last segment, I just want to run down because they did kind of finalize the official card here. As we said, I don't have the right picture here because I just don't. I'm sorry, guys. I fall short sometimes. I fail y'all periodically. But just imagine that Thea Hale is in this picture with a crazy face. Okay, just imagine this face in that picture. All right, and you've got the idea there. Um, then also we have for the tag team titles, Hank and Tank against Fraxium. For the North American Championship, all ego Ethan Page taking on Ricky Saints. Hey, I said it right. The four-way. Also, it's a four-way. They said it was going to be a three, but it looks like it's
Well,
going to be a.
yeah, it was gonna be a three if Roxy couldn't find
Oh, if
a tag
Roxy
partner.
couldn't find a tag partner, okay. But so we got Roxy and Cora together again, friends reunited. It's been so long. So happy. Jakara and Lash, Fatal Influence, and Gigi and Tatum. Uh,
Now, interesting that this is the team that they're going with for Stand and Deliver.
hmm.
Like, I mean, I'm not surprised, but I do we think that Jasmine Nix is going to play a factor?
um,
Or
Possibly.
rather, how much of a factor do you think she's going to play?
Well, it's worth noting that they weren't particularly happy with Jasmine over the last couple weeks.
Hmm.
They were mad that she kind of interjected herself into the qualifying match, um, which she did not win, obviously. Um, they they were, I think, unhappy about that. They were both looking her down, but also, I mean, maybe that doesn't mean anything at all because you could say the same thing about JC Jane and Fallon. JC's been looking at Fallon that way for about a month. I mean, I definitely think she'll be in the present in the match, but I don't think she's going to. I just knocked my laptop cord. I don't think she's going to like cause fatal influence to win the match. But that's partially
Fair.
because I've talked myself into wrong slide. I've talked myself into Cora and Roxy winning this. So.
Well, and I find myself kind of pulling for Tatum and Gigi. Like for no one, like I feel like the likely winners are going to be um Lash and Jakara, just because they have the most experience out of these four teams, and I still think they're going to wind up pivoting Roxy and Cora into a singles feud. So it comes
Wait,
down for me between Gigi and Tatum and Solruka and Zarya.
which is fair. Which is fair.
No, sorry, no, not those ones. Put the graphic back up. I forgot about the fourth team.
Oh, wrong graphic.
Yeah, Fatal Influence. Yeah,
Okay.
like I think they're telling a story there. And I was thinking of the North American contender graphic or the North American title graphic, and I was like, oh yeah, they're a tag team. That makes sense.
Right. Which they and I just want to address this, Mac. Why? That's a terrible reason to put a championship on Izzy Dame, who has not grown very much as a wrestler.
I disagree. I think that's a great reason.
But there's better options than her.
Yeah, but it's
Do you remember?
specifically
Do
to
you
spite
remember?
you.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. It wouldn't be the first time that I have felt personally slighted by this company. But do you remember when Izzy Dame first appeared on NXT television and commentary had to hard sell it like it was like this huge thing, and not a single one of us knew who she was?
Well, and like she was interfering in Kiana James's match, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
Like they had to tell us who she was. And I'm like, I've never seen this woman before in my fucking life. Like, just because she's helping Kiana James, why do I give a shit? Like, I don't yet. She's just showed up.
Right? They acted like it was, some like big return or something. Oh my god! You
This is
you don't
next
want it
level.
back. You don't want it. You just think you want it. You don't understand. This is a phase that you're going through right now. All right, this is an Izzy Dame phase. I've had wrestlers I've done this with before in the past. Uh, it happens, but like you're going to move past this and the information bush as a whole. Because here's the thing: if you're going to cheer for Izzy Dame this hard, you also have to cheer for the rest of the information bush that hard. I don't make the rules.
I don't know if Mac has a problem with that. I'm not sure his theory or his thoughts on the information bush.
Mac, the Nico Vance super fan, is what you're saying.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Jiminy Cricket. Okay.
Uh,
All right. Well,
well,
congratulations
okay.
to you, our
Thank you for setting the record straight.
yeah. But we appreciate the honesty, Mac. We really do. God damn it. All right.
Why
Back
are
to
you here if you didn't watch the
because
show?
because he's a DSR family alum and founder. And he loves us, CJ. He's supportive of us. That's why.
If I wasn't like, if weekends weren't the only time that I got to spend with my girlfriend, I would watch the SmackDown show, but because I'm too busy enjoying the rest of my life, I don't watch his show, and I apologize for that, but that's how it is.
There's a lot. There's only so many hours in the week, guys. But back to the show that
Aw,
Mac.
thanks, Mac.
Oh, what? See, I told you that's why he loves us. It's the SR family. It's WrestleMania week. He's that's why he's here for us. But back to the show that CJ and I do watch, but Mac does not. We had our final segment, the Championship Summit. Ahead of Stand and Deliver, the triple threat. Trick Williams making his way out first. I'm just going to kind of bring everybody out here, and then we'll get into the promo. Femi was second to arrive. They jawed for a bit, and then Javon Evans came out, and they talked before we got into the end of it here. I want to say, solid promo work, CJ, from everybody involved. I expect that out of Trick at this point, honestly. Obafemi has been good on the mic since go, but I want to give a special acknowledgement here to Javon Evans on this promo tonight. I thought he killed it. This was the best promo he's delivered. I didn't know that his feud with Ethan Page was going to shift his character in such a manner. But I thought this was just a brilliant promo from him. I questioned whether or not he had this level of mic skill in him, the ability to be this serious and come across so real and not just as kind of a bright, colorful character, but as someone who you legitimately think can win this championship, not just because they're capable of doing it, but also because they've been underestimated by their much higher booked and much larger competition. Before we get into, what happened after things, CJ, what'd you think of this promo here?
Well, I agree. Like it was his best promo for sure. And this was the side of him that we kind of started to see when he was feuding with Ethan Page after he got his jaw broken. So for me, I'm glad to see that that side of him is continuing on. This promo made me feel like he could genuinely win the NXT championship this
Yeah,
Saturday. I am I think that he's got enough support that he very well could do it.
yeah,
And I think this is why it's a triple threat match, so that Oba doesn't have to actually get pinned to
yeah.
drop the title.
Yep, especially if Trick is on his way north, taking the pin makes sense too. That's how we do things. Um,
Also, can I just say on with regards to Trick, I hated the fact that he validated Booker T by singing along with his theme song in the ring.
yeah.
Like it made me so sad.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. I mean,
Wow,
wow, man,
that's so funny.
that's fantastic. Love it. God, love it. But yeah,
That's dedication.
I'm with you. I think after this promo, I really believe there's a large chance in my heart that they could have Javon walk out with this championship, and I would be here for it. And again, this is another match on this card where there's multiple directions they could go that wouldn't just make sense, but would also give a lot of agency and room for multiple storylines.
And even just given how hard Trick has been hitting him with the "you're just a kid,"
Mm-hmm.
those kind of statements, it's like, all right, well, we're finally gonna see him grow up and step into his own and win the NXT title.
And it's been fast. This has been a very fast progression for him as an NXT talent and as a character. Like I feel like his character has developed really quickly, in a way that I think sometimes you would need a year or more to get this level of progression.
Oh, absolutely. But, part of me wonders if they're on a bit of a time crunch. Like, if they think that, I mean, it feels like a guarantee Trick's going to get called up. It almost feels like they're priming Oba too.
Yeah, I've said this multiple times, but if we were in a different management era of this company, Oba Femi would have been put on the main roster 3 weeks after the breakout tournament.
Absolutely.
He was,
They would have absolutely done something with him on the main roster by now. He would have got what Braun Breaker is getting currently.
I don't I don't know that he would have gotten that good of a story though. I feel like I don't know that Vince would have been good with him. I feel like he might have put him into some sort of potentially racially insensitive stable with
Well, I mean, he did put the Intercontinental title on Gunther not too long after he showed up on SmackDown, instead of sticking him with a probably racist gimmick.
Yeah, that was going to be a rough one when they gave him the name of an actual SS officer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's why they dropped the first name off of the Gunther for that. But I guess they decided Gunther sounded
I
better than
thought that wasn't that
first name than first name.
Ludwig Kaiser had a different last name?
That I don't recall, but they've walked into some problematic territory before. It
Oh,
happens.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Vince flat out dropped the
Yeah,
N bomb on
actually, I was gonna say Vince
WWE
didn't. It
TV.
wasn't even walked into problematic territory. He would skip gleefully into problematic territory.
The
But
face, the look he had on his face when he skipped out of that scene was like, "What are you gonna do? I'm the boss."
yeah, he looked way too pleased with himself coming out of that. Oh my god! But yeah, this could very well though. Back to NXT, but this could very well be what we see Saturday. I don't know, Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, coming out of Stand and Deliver. But I thought this was a great closing angle to a fantastic go home show from NXT. Said this at the top of the program tonight, but this to me just blew what Raw did as a go home show last night out of the water. But I'm also a little bit, just a wee bit biased.
I'm just checking the
Stop it, Mac.
start time just because I remember them saying that WrestleMania was likely to be, 9 hours?
Oh Lord Almighty.
Uh, they're saying 12 Pacific. That feels late. Hang on.
What would that
Um,
be? That okay? That would yeah, it does feel late. That's a heavy
I think
list of
that's
people.
wrong.
What's the start time? Let me see
Yeah.
here. Guys, this is live radio right now. NXT stand.
Sports Illustrated feels pretty reputable.
Agreed. Agreed.
10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, 1 Eastern.
Noon Central. Okay, so 1 Eastern. Okay, wow, that's gonna
Yeah,
be a
that's
fun
better.
afternoon.
That makes more sense.
And
18
Dirt
hours
Sheet
over 2 days.
Radio is
Yeah,
gonna be here for it. We're here for
you
you
know it.
guys. But yeah, that's the go home show, guys. That is NXT. We are ready for Saturday night. CJ, before we get into the jobber and megastars of the night here, anything else on tonight's program that we did not touch on that you would like to hit?
Really, just that the quality of the show has increased tremendously. And I genuinely look forward to getting to see NXT every week. I
Yeah, it's
can't
a blast.
always say the same for the main roster. WrestleMania season being, a pretty solid exception under the
Right.
Triple H era, in my opinion. But I genuinely am excited for Stand and Deliver. This and this episode is a good chunk of the reason why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really did. They went for the hard sell tonight, and they did a great job of it. I love it.
Absolutely.
NXT. I say this before, and that's why like I'm a little biased on this sort of thing. But like week in and week out, NXT is my favorite wrestling program. I even the hokey things that they dive into sometimes. I enjoy. Like it's to me it's I don't know like every that's the thing about pro wrestling is there's so many variations on what pro wrestling is and what it can be and what it's capable of as an entertainment uh type. But NXT to me is like it's my preferred style. There's a good mix of high quality in ring action. You have really bombastic characters, and sometimes just goofy humor, and I love it. I love pretty much everything they put out.
On that note of goofy humor, you know what I was thinking about the other day? Back when the Heritage Cup was speculated to have powers and was drawing in former champions almost obsessively, I am actually kind of upset that they didn't follow through on that. Like it
Yeah,
just completely dropped out of nowhere. I would have
yeah.
loved to see where that actually ends up going.
That was one of my favorite speculative things we ever talked about on the show was that it was like the one ring and it just drew them in and just attach themselves or attach to their soul. It just wonderful storytelling.
And I mean, from a storytelling perspective, I get that why they dropped it because it's like one, it is otherworldly and ridiculous, like
Right.
to a WWE 2K level, but oh gosh, wouldn't that have been something if they adapted that into a 2K storyline?
Hey, and they very well still could. They could. That's something that's actually well within the realm of possibility.
Keep it well, knowing the stories that they've had in those
Oh, they've done some wild supernatural stuff in some of those games. What was it? One of the Raw versus SmackDown games where you get turned into a diva?
yeah.
Michelle McCool
There's
with her wand, I think. Like,
mhm. Well,
uh,
and even just like some of the Bray Wyatt stuff, some
yeah.
Undertaker stuff. Like I still remember that Road to WrestleMania storyline of the Undertakers where you follow the whole thing, you get to WrestleMania, but if you lose, he turns you into a druid.
which is going backwards. Usually you're going to be a druid and then be a wrestler on the main roster. That's usually the direction you go. Oh
I mean,
gosh,
not always. In CM Punk's case, it was a mobster.
that's true. Oh god, I love that shot of him just
In
like in
in
front of the.
Sol Ruka's case, it was the Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot.
Wait, what?
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that. So
Oh
you're
yeah,
you're
she
telling
even
me
she
how?
even referenced it on social media recently because she found it on her
Oh,
IMDb page.
so you're telling me that Sol Ruka has had a WrestleMania appearance during a Rey Mysterio match?
That screenshot of Ray at like walking up the
Yeah,
steps
yeah.
and
You
the
said
Cinnamon
it's a
Toast
meme.
Crunch things right there.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my
yeah, that's Sol Ruka.
god. I had no idea. That is awesome. God, we have been, CJ, you have been just like hitting me and the viewers tonight with some fantastic professional wrestling trivia here. This has been wonderful. This has been wonderful.
I don't know, man. I think I'm just like access. This is like I'm going through what Bradley Cooper did in Limitless. I'm just like accessing all 100% of my brain.
This is what happens when wrestling fans become limitless. Not gimmickless. We don't want to go that way, but
This
hey
is what
guys,
happens when John leaves us alone.
right? That you leave, sir, and we go off the rails utterly and completely. But it's jobber time. That makes it sound like we're turning into jobbers, which we are not. Like it's morphing time, like it's the Power
I
Rangers,
was I was gonna say that sounds like the worst Power Rangers or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles slogan.
It's jobber time. Oh, lay down, everybody. Oh, good lord. CJ, do you have a clear jobber tonight?
I racked my brain, and the closest thing I could think of was one of the teams, like in the tag team gauntlet. And even then, I was like, everybody still got all their spots in, even if they
Yeah.
lost. So it was one of those, I guess, one of the background extras
Mm-hmm.
in that first segment after the match of all the women competitors in the North American ladder match. Like anybody that wasn't in that match but was in that scene. And you're not Ariana Grace because you also
So,
stole the show by
so you're
moving
saying
back into frame.
so Nikita Lyons is what you're
Uh,
saying. It's
well,
Nikita Lyons.
Nikita Lyons, but also like the camera moves throughout the scene, and you do see more people sitting behind them. Like I'm pretty sure that's Lash Legends cleavage that was underneath
Yeah, I believe so. Is
Kalani's
that is
arm.
that Brinley Reese?
I don't know. I can't imagine. I can't imagine so, but
That
maybe.
looks like her. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But
I'll have
yeah,
to go back and watch that again.
right. But that's kind of my point in framing the question that way because I really didn't have anybody tonight. This is one of those NXTs where it's just I have a hard time picking on anybody, even in the realm of like, ooh, you lost a match, jobbery. Like I couldn't really do it tonight. I feel like this was just a really great episode.
And honestly, if every other episode of NXT was like this, it might get boring. Like
That's
it's good that this episode stands out because it's the go home show for
yep,
their
yep,
biggest show of the year.
yep.
So
It should be more.
if there was an episode that was pedal to the metal, it needed to be this one.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. It's smart booking. You want to be able to crank up the engine when you need to have that ebb and flow. It really gives a genuine air of excitement, and it was they did a good job of that tonight. They did a good job. So no true jobber this evening, but
No jobbers here.
but but
Oh god, that was loud for some reason in my headphones.
it came through louder in my headphones than I thought it was going to.
I'm glad it
But
wasn't just me.
Oh, that was Megastar of the night. May have been just as difficult a decision. CJ, who do you have this evening as your Megastar?
It was difficult, but it wasn't difficult at all. I had to give it to Hank and Tank. They ran the gambit, and every pin that they got was just them having each other's backs, working together as a team. Like Tank said in the promo afterwards, they were just being themselves. So they really showed that they like how far they've come is the real story here.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that they were able to um, run the gambit tonight and really have the crowd on their side, that's Megastar of the Night material for me.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly. And they were my initial pick as well, but not to piggyback and do the same thing. I will take a slightly different approach here because I agree with everything you said, man. Like this was, a lot of things happened tonight on the show. There's a lot of things to take away, but like they were one of the major plot points, one of the major stories tonight, and they deserved it, and it was awesome. But just to have another wrestler named here tonight, as to not pick the exact same one because I very well could and almost did. I'm going to throw it up to Javon Evans tonight, just based completely off of his performance during that promo. I was not expecting him to be able to turn it up like that this quickly in his career. I thought through this angle with Ethan Page that I saw glimpses of him being able to, get to this place, but my God, he did it tonight. And as we said earlier, makes me believe that he could be winning that championship Saturday. And again, getting the upper hand, laying out both of them, being the underdog here. They could tell a great story, and he could be a great underdog champion. And so for those reasons, he's my megastar tonight.
That's perfectly valid. Like Javon was definitely a runner up in my book too.
Yeah, he killed it in that. So it's interesting. Like I said, I didn't want to quite pick the same one there, but yeah, solid work across the board. Great episode, and go home show for Stand and Deliver. It's WrestleMania week. There's a lot of stuff still coming this week down the pike, especially for coverage from DSR. I think I've got a graphic in here somewhere that they sent through on the socials. There it is. Look at that. It's
Sharp looking graphic. I mean,
yeah.
3NT still has the sharpest in wrestling, but we are just narrowly behind them now.
Just there. Yeah, it's a coming. The weekend's a coming. But hey, I've got good news. If you enjoyed what you saw here this evening, we don't just cover NXT on Tuesday nights. No. We are here all the time, Professional Wrestling with Dirt Sheet Radio. We cover Raw every single Monday night. We are here, clearly, for NXT on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, you can check out the Dirt Sheet Radio flagship program, which also includes the AEW recap. 2 shows for the price of 1, which is free, as all the shows are. Thursday nights, check out the Impact Wrestling, TNA Impact Wrestling, which is kind of our sister show here at NXT. And then, of course, Fridays are for SmackDown or SmackSound, if you like. And on the weekends, when we can, CJ and I like to bring the Weekend Wrestling Roundup to y'all. And also on the weekends, as CJ mentioned, the 3NT crew brings it live every week, breaking down the week of professional wrestling. Now, this week, due to WrestleMania, there will be coverage Saturday night and Sunday night for WrestleMania. And, the spirit of the Roundup will be with us this weekend, when CJ and I will be bringing live watch-along coverage for Stand and Deliver to y'all this weekend. It's going to be fun and hype. Be there and be square. We're all nerds here, guys. But CJ, tell the folks where they can find you next. I may have just done that.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be here on Saturday for Stand and Deliver and night 1 of WrestleMania. I got to work over night 2, unfortunately, but night 1, I'm looking forward to breaking down. And also, with the Stand and Deliver watch along, we are making it a weekly wrestling roundup edition of Stand and Deliver. So we are going to be talking industry news and big stories, everything that's been going on in wrestling lately that's maybe not WrestleMania related. We'll be breaking down some of those topics during the action as well.
I'll say this: catch up on LFG, y'all, if you haven't, because that'll
Oh,
probably be a topic of discussion. But yeah,
I have some opinions on BJ
yep,
Ray,
yep. We'll be talking
as I'm
about
sure
that,
everybody does.
guys. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm Tyler, the Pro Wrestling Hipster. Please give me a follow over on Facebook at the Pro Wrestling Hipster. I'm trying to hit 2,000 before WrestleMania. I'm this close. But do that only after you have followed Dirt Sheet Radio on all social media platforms. Guys, as he just said, he and I will be bringing the Weekend Wrestling Roundup edition of the Stand and Deliver Watch Along. And Dirt Sheet Radio will be back live tomorrow night. Guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you then.
WrestleMania season. Woohoo!